I'm Ginny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm here with Kandi Leigh to talk about her article in the November-December issue of On Purpose Woman magazine. Hey, Kandi, thanks for being here with me.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm excited to see what our chat unfolds today.
I'm always excited to talk with you about all of the relationship information and wisdom that you have.
Thank
But
you.
before we get into that conversation, tell our viewers a little bit about you.
So, I'm Kandi Leigh. I am a relationship healer and transformation coach. So, I just help people have healthier relationships, and it all boils down to the relationship you have with yourself.
Okay, so you start there. What if,
Yes.
well,
Well,
that's for
actually,
another time,
we
maybe,
we we end there and then grow from there.
because most of us never started there.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
we
we
didn't
got to
know there was
clear
such
away
a
the
thing, right?
layers,
What do you
get
mean
down to
relationship with
there.
myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you wrote this article for the November-December issue, but we had to reschedule our chat.
Yes.
So we'll be talking about that. It's also the sixth and last in a series that you called Relationship Soup, a recipe for better relationships.
Yes.
And so this one this article is called The Secret Ingredient to the Best Relationships. And I want to tell our viewers that the link to our archives is in the text of this video, and you can go back. Candy's articles are in every issue of the 2023 magazine. So just start looking at the archives. You can find every one of her issues. We're going to talk a little bit about some of all of those articles, but we're going to leave a whole lot of stuff out because we want you to go read them and really hear all the depth that Kandi goes into with these things. So, Kandi, in your article, you start by telling a story about your grandmother's biscuits. Share
Mhm.
that story with us, and how does it tie into our topic of the secret ingredient to the best relationships?
So my grandmother was a cook. She was an amazing cook at home. She was the head cook at the local high school she worked at. And so everyone knew her for being a cook and not just physically the cook, the person who wants to nourish everyone. It was
Mm.
inherently who she is, right? And my mom was not a cook. My mom did not grow up in the kitchen with her.
Betty was too,
And
I learned your grandmother's name was Betty when we first started talking, but it sounds like Betty was too busy cooking for everybody else that she didn't have time to teach your mother anything. Or maybe your mother
maybe
didn't want to be. I didn't want to be in the kitchen growing up.
maybe a mix of both, lots of different
Yeah. Yeah.
dynamics there. So I did not grow up with a mom who was a cook. Cook is not really a part of who my mom is.
Mhm.
And I would say in a lot of ways, it's not who I am. And so there's been a lot of jokes and laughter over our cooking abilities. And, you know, on the one hand, that's stuff you could take to heart, or on the other hand, you can just accept, like, okay, there are a lot of things I am, and cook is not necessarily one of them. Although at this point in my life, I will tell you, when I set out to make something, it usually turns out really well.
Mhm.
But it wasn't always like that. I had to accept where I was at first.
And so you loved your grandmother's biscuits. Apparently, everybody
Yes.
loved your grandmother's biscuits.
Yes. Yes.
And I think you
They
wrote
were
about
amazing.
you tried to make them, or your mother tried to make them, or both.
My my mom went on a biscuit making journey. She started out making biscuits as hard as rocks. They were inedible. And then they went the opposite direction. They were falling apart before they were on the plate. And then just at some point something clicked and she could make the best biscuits, okay? I, on the other hand, grew up before the internet. And, you like to play in the kitchen when mom's not home. And I would pull out a recipe book and I would look up recipes for biscuits. And as soon as it said something about sifting flour, I'm like, I have no idea what that means. I don't know what a sifter is. Shut down completely. And so I actually, to date, have never tried to make biscuits. Although this is hilarious. About a week ago, I got to go to a girls' overnight trip, and one of the girls made biscuits that did not require sifting flour. There were like three ingredients. They were delicious. And so I might actually have an updated biscuit story soon,
Wow. You never know when you get together with your girlfriends, do you?
right?
Well, the biscuit story. is a deeper meaning, and it's a metaphor for really what we're talking about, that secret ingredient. So why does it matter? That I mean, what is the tie, I guess, between this biscuit story and your article, what you're writing about?
So the secret ingredient is self-acceptance because you are the full final ingredient to any best recipe. And so the more you accept yourself, the more you are your pure, let's use food as examples. You are the non-GMO organic version of you. The more you accept yourself authentically. And it's really difficult to master that. So,
Hmm.
my grandmother was inherently a cook. And so the embodiment of that showed up in everything she did. My mom, not inherently a cook. So if she tried to embody being a cook, honestly, it didn't work as well
Hmm.
in the kitchen or out of the kitchen, right? The more you try to be something you're not, the less tasty it's going to be,
Right. Okay.
right?
And as I
Yeah.
mentioned, this was the sixth or article in the series of six. And let's go back to the first five, because I want you to
Okay.
say just a little bit about each of those articles. Because those of you watching or seeing this on our YouTube channel, you can go on our archives, which is in the text of this video, and read every one of those articles. So I want Kandi to give you just a little taste of what you might get in each article. So let's see. The first one for January, February of 2023 was about healing your relationship wounds. Why is that important?
Oh, any wounds that we have, and I don't know that we ever come to a space where we've fully healed all of them. So it's not like you have to be completely healed before going into a relationship. Relationships are
Mhm.
actually what help us identify where we're at and where our growth opportunity is.
Oh, yeah.
However, and if you know that you don't trust men, for example, you're not in a space to get into a relationship. You are going to
Mhm.
call in a man who is going to help you prove that men are untrustworthy.
Mhm.
And you don't want that. So
And oh, go
if you
ahead.
know you have big things like that, it helps to go ahead and heal the wound. If you know you have abandonment issues, you are going to more than likely call in someone who is going to trigger your abandonment wounds. So if you can just go ahead and start healing those abandonment wounds, you are less likely to call someone like that in to help you heal them. And then you're
Okay.
going to start your relationship off in a better space.
Yes, I think what you're saying also, that if we heal first, yeah, we may be able to heal through that person, but that's a lot harder. It's a lot more painful, right? And who knows how it's going to turn out? It could
Yeah.
not work because
Yeah.
sometimes they don't. So
Yeah.
yes, I love that because and I like what you said about we don't have to be healed. Awareness is the key. We have to know that we have those issues, right?
Yes.
And that we're
Yes.
working and notice when we're triggered. But it's not like it's like you said, I don't think anybody ever isn't ever going to be triggered again by anybody. I just got like triggered by somebody this past week, and it was like, wow, I can't believe that I went there with that. It was my former husband. It was like, whoa, haven't seen him in 8 years. We've been divorced for like 30. Yeah, wow, sorry, 40. And yet
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
happened. And I was like, oh man, I can't believe I didn't see that one coming. But it was great
Yeah.
because it was apparently in there and it needed to be expressed.
So the image I'm getting is thinking of like a tree and getting rid of a tree. And you do your best to pull up all of its roots, but there's
Mhm.
probably still going to be some roots in there, and that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Just get the ones
And
you're
the
going to
roots
trip
are not
over.
harmful until they come up, but they start
Yeah.
getting coming back up again and getting into your stuff, right?
Yeah. Just clear out the ones you're going to trip over,
Right. There you
at
go. I like
least.
that a lot. I like that a lot. So then we move on to the March, April issue. And that issue, you said another key ingredient is attraction. And specifically, you talked about the dance, what I call the dance of the masculine and feminine energy. Say
Yes.
more about that.
Okay. So people, everyone inherently has both masculine and feminine energy. This is not gender specific. Now, in general, a woman may be more feminine energy, a man may be more masculine energy, but that is not 100% tried and true. And we all have our own natural rhythm, balance of the two energies. So, feminine energy is nurturing, it's compassionate, it's intuitive, it flows. It's actually the receiver energy. Everyone thinks it's the giver. Women, we're so giving.
Mm.
We're the receiving energy. Okay. So masculine energy is that container that creates kind of the boundary. The feminine energy comes in and inspires this container that the masculine energy has created. And it's very logical and analytical, and it holds space for the feminine energy. And when they work together, it's very magnetic. And energy is magnetic, and it just
Mhm.
really just draws you right together. So when people can maintain as much as possible their authentic balance of feminine and masculine energy, they're going to keep growing more like this. If you start going like this, you're probably getting out of balance.
Yeah. Wow, great point. Because these are like opposite magnets, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to May, June, where you write about the next ingredient, which is love. Specifically, it's about how we identify love and what it looks like to us. How does not knowing that make a relationship challenging?
It is
How much time do we have, right?
right. Yes. It's just so much easy. It's easy to default to my example where growing up, my mom would be quick to anger, and then we would very quickly apologize, and that whole apology coming back together felt
Mm.
so good. So subconsciously I identified love. I connected the idea of love to that making up, reconnecting after an issue, and getting that good feeling, almost like a drug, honestly, right? We like, there's a fine line between the chemicals in our body feeling like a drug and the actual energy of love. And so I finally became aware that I had a pattern of maybe having an issue be created so that we could then apologize, and that reconnection, understanding of each other come, that
Mm.
feeling happen. And once I became aware of that, I was able to shift it. I was like, I don't need to have issues pop up to feel love with my partner. Let's not do that anymore.
Let's skip the middleman, right? And go
Yeah,
right to
let's just be connected,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I know also that when we I don't think that's one of mine specifically, but I do know there's something around something like that. But when we are picking fights or just bringing stuff up that we think is going to maybe blow stuff up and then we can heal it for the moment, the other person, if that's not their experience of love, they're going to be just totally like out, not down with that, right? They're going to be totally bamboozled maybe or just um, confused about what's going on, right?
Yeah, yeah, they may not hear you.
Yeah, yeah. All these ingredients, man. Okay. July, August. You said that after identifying how we define love, it's important to also look at the other beliefs we hold about relationships. How can knowing that support having a healthy relationship?
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to really the example I used in the beginning of healing our relationship wounds, but really kind of doing an inventory of your life and going, okay, based on the relationship my parents had, what truths might I carry towards love? And
Mhm.
there might be things that contradict each other. Love is forever. Love means getting divorced and letting people go. Um, Love is patient and kind. Love is being able to get mad at each other and forgive each other. Just
Mhm.
look at the different relationships of it. It usually starts with your parents, even your dynamics with your siblings, any partners you've had, what seemed like love.
Mhm.
I may have fallen off the question there.
Well, let's see. I don't think you
But
really
what
did.
beliefs, yeah, it just
Yeah.
helps you know like what beliefs you carry towards love, and then go, okay, these are beliefs I want to keep. And these are beliefs based on the relationship I know I want to have that I want to shift. Because here's the
Mhm.
deal, we can prove anything. We really can. It's what we are tuned into. So if I believe all relationships end badly, do I really want to believe that? Like, if I believe that, what's the point of getting in a relationship?
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
can look out there and I can find examples of relationships that have not ended badly. So then I can start going, okay, I can shift this belief.
So it's all about really getting conscious about what it is that we believe, honest with ourselves, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And to maybe see the patterns, like, because, what I've all known for a really long time is I am the common denominator. I'm the one who always shows up. So if this thing keeps showing up in every relationship, and maybe it's not even just romantic relationships, it's, work and family and all that, maybe something needs to be examined right here, right?
Mhm.
And that can
Yeah.
make all the difference, can it?
Yeah. Yeah. Pick what you want to believe and tune into it. Choose what you want to pay attention to.
Hmm. September, October, I think that was my favorite one because I think it's the one that in the early days, most ignored.
Oh,
And this is about red flags and deal breakers and how knowing the difference between something that needs to be addressed, that is a red flag or a deal breaker, and something that's just showing up and it's just a bad moment. It's just not maybe it doesn't need to be addressed at least the first time, right? And
exactly.
so what do you mean first by red flags and deal breakers?
Okay, so a lot of people, I see them use these words interchangeably, and they're not interchangeable. There really is a difference. A red flag is a warning. Hey, let me just take note of that, pay attention to it, see if this is a pattern. But you got to give it a chance to be a pattern.
Yeah.
A deal breaker is I already know that that's not going to work for me. Now, maybe you need to go back and do some of this healing work we've been talking about and shifting beliefs and healing love, and then that can shift your deal breakers. Or I personally know that someone who does not embody a lifestyle that supports holistic health, we're just not going to mesh.
Hmm.
There's just, could I hold space for them to get into holistic health or be, like watching me but why?
Then it becomes like an uneven relationship, does it? Because you're like in teacher mode or you're in even mother mode. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
this monitoring, and you don't want to be that. It's not very sexy.
Yeah, that is not the balance of masculine and feminine
Yeah,
energy that's
yeah,
going to work for me.
yeah.
So I already know that someone whose lifestyle is not founded in the my version of holistic health and self-care does not have to match his because he's going to have a more masculine version versus
Mhm.
my feminine version. And I know that I need to see him embodying that kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah. And that's
So for
so
me, that would be
important
a
to
deal breaker.
know. And I guess it's one of the mistakes that I think a lot of women have made over the years. They're willing to settle. Well, yeah, this is important to me, but he's really nice, or, I'm not getting any younger, or just any of those old things that we've been told. So we
Mhm.
settle, right?
Yeah. And then
And
that's it. Don't, the things that if it would be settling, then just go ahead and go ahead and let them loose. Attract in the better. And it really that's ultimately what it is saying, I know I deserve better, basically owning my value. And
mhm.
then that will be attracted to you. Sometimes we just have to say, sometimes you got to pass on the dessert you don't really want to get to the dessert you really want.
Yeah, do I really want to waste the calories and the bad stuff on a Reese's cup?
Yeah.
Do I want to have some like vegan chocolate mousse with dark
Woo!
chocolate
Can I
and
have dessert with you?
I don't make it. There's a local restaurant that has that. And it's like, yeah, it's
That
one of those
sounds
things that you
like,
take little tiny bites so it lasts longer.
yeah, that sounds like heaven.
Yeah, lick the spoon of them. Yeah. But it's a great metaphor for that, I think, because settle for the Reese's cup and
Yeah.
then wow,
Like,
that I should have the other thing, right? Because I'm already full and yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you give such great examples that are
Thank you.
so
That's my favorite thing about the work I do.
and they are so relatable and so easy. I mean, they're you kind of have brought it down to a level that most people can go and oh, I have an experience of that. And yeah, I get what she's saying.
Yeah.
And so this brings us to the last article, which is the November, December issue. And you already talked a little bit about that. It's the secret ingredient.
Yes.
And what's the secret ingredient again?
Self-acceptance, totally being as authentically you as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? What happens if we're not? What
Well,
can happen if we're not, right?
what can happen if we're not? You can, I don't like to use the words waste time because everything is a growth
Hmm.
and a learning experience. But well, first of all, you can hurt yourself and others. Um, and you're denying yourself the chocolate vegan mousse, really,
Hmm.
by saying, "Oh yeah, I love peanut butter. This is what I want." Maybe you hate peanut butter and you're just like showing up that way for why? To give the person a chance, maybe.
Hmm. Yeah.
But if you really fully accept, hey, I really like vegan mousse. Now, maybe I can show up and they like peanut butter, and that's fine. We're happy with that. But it's one thing to be willing to try something, and it's a whole nother thing to keep going along with it if it's not really you. You
Hmm.
know, when someone is really, really passionate about, I'm going to pull out a big word, politics.
Oh, yeah. It's only three syllables, so it's not, it's
But
only,
it's such
yep,
a big word. I know I had you on the edge of your seat.
you
What's she
did. You
about to
did.
say? When someone is really passionate, right? And they have really hardcore beliefs, someone like me can just sit there and grin and nod and not really fully show up as the, yeah, I'm just not into that, you know? And
Hmm.
what that does is it cuts us off from really getting to know each other. And sure, maybe I'm just trying not to start an argument with someone who has very passionate feelings. So then that might be my deal breaker to walk away. Or, but what it does is it also doesn't give them a chance to really get to know me.
Right, right. And they apparently feel like they have the right to tell you whatever they feel like telling you, but yet for some reason, we might not think that we can, or we want to, because we are also the nurturers and we want to have we're the relationship smoothers. At
Yeah.
least that's the role I've seen many of
Yeah.
us take. But I think we're also more in touch often with, there's a lot of men out there who are also really in touch with themselves and but I think we also, can go, well, like you said, let's see where this goes, or let's see. But, I mean, I remember going on a date with somebody and I got up from, it was not really a blind, it was a personal ad. And we met at the restaurant. And the first 15 minutes, I said, this isn't going to work. And he
Mhm.
said, well, why not? Because he'd been talking nonstop about his money and his cars and his business. I said, I can't sit here when you talk down to a waiter. That was a deal
Mhm.
breaker for me because
Yes.
that showed me right. I wanted to like crawl under the seat. I actually went up and gave the guy a tip and thanked him and told him I was sorry that I
I
didn't
love
really know
that.
this guy, but it was this, that told me if he's going to talk down to somebody like that, it was kind of
Mhm.
pompous anyway, then it's what he does. I
Yeah.
don't think I needed to see that more than once,
Yeah.
there's a difference between like, you know, sending your food back in a nice, there's a difference. It was just this energy of he's done this a lot. He's really good at it.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
there was a time when I wouldn't have had the courage to do that because he'd already gotten me in with like two of the cars. It was like, whoa, really? He had a fleet of cars. It was really interesting. So anyway, that was
Well, and
35 years ago.
this is the balance of, they're showing up he was being authentic. However, and someone who has fully accepted themselves and shows up authentically, there is a comfort to being around that type of person. You
Hmm.
feel a peace in your soul being
Yeah.
around them,
Yeah.
even if you don't see eye to eye. When you are, there's just it's really just a gift to be around someone who has learned to embody who they are and be at peace with it.
Hmm. It sure
And
is.
it's a journey. It is a journey to get there.
And when we can do that, we're also a gift to ourselves and to others.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think this may be this, the red flags was my favorite, the deal breaker and red flags.
Yeah.
I think this is the most important one right here.
It
And
really is.
I'm glad you waited till the make it the last one because it really probably is the most elusive one,
Mhm. It is.
you
It
know.
is. I know this conversation could have gone in so many directions.
Mhm. And
Hmm.
yeah, I've heard for decades of just, working on myself that, well, you just have to love yourself first. How can you love anyone else if you don't love yourself first? And I'm saying it in that sing-songy kind of way because it's very rote and it's very, okay, great. Tell me how, or
Exactly.
because it's not a one and done. It's a process. And
So
it's,
true.
and every time I know for me, every time I get a little hit of something that pulls me down a little bit, then I do some more work and I get up a little bit higher than I was before. But it's a human condition, I think.
Yeah.
And so to the extent that I think age helps a little bit too. I'd heard that, when you hit 50, maybe even 40, you stop caring so much about other people's opinions. And man, I'm in my 70s now. And that's like now it's kind of like, huh? What do you
I
mean?
keep forgetting that too, because
Well, good. Yeah. Because I'm so like ageless, right? Or you can't really
yes.
tell how old I am.
Yeah.
But Candy, I've enjoyed these articles so much. I really
Mhm.
encourage anyone watching this to click on the link below that says, OPW, I'm sorry, On Purpose Woman Magazine, and then there's the slash, and that's the archives. You can go into January through January of last year, 2023, to the November, December article in 2023 and read in depth about each of these things that Candy's talked with us about today because it's brilliant stuff, Candy. You're really good at what you do.
Thank you very much.
Anything you'd like to shout out about for our viewers coming up, or just anything on your website you want to point out?
Yes, it's not on my website. However, for Valentine's Day, one of my best friend colleagues, we do a lot of work together. We are going to offer a Zoom class for Valentine's Day. So details have not come out yet, but basically, it's going to help people in clearing out whatever these resistances to love are that they're holding. So we'll be using our tools for that.
So there's
So,
nowhere people can find out the link or the information right now, or
not yet. This is a
okay.
little teaser. Hopefully, we'll have it in the next 24 hours.
And
But
where would it be? Would it be on your website or not?
Instagram is usually the best place to find it. Does Instagram go into our information, or they can
I
go
can put it
to
in there, sure. Yeah.
okay, candyleigh.com/hello is a good way to kind of get connected to the different spaces I show up.
Okay. That sounds like a wonderful offering for that time of year, especially because there will
Yes.
be some people who are feeling kind of down also that time of year.
Yeah.
And it's never been a big deal for me. I realized it was a big deal for me when I was in relationships that didn't feel that good all the time, but
Yeah.
being in a relationship that feels good a good 99.9% of the time. I don't even care if we do anything for Valentine's Day. We always do
Exactly.
something. A card is enough for me. I'm sure there will be flowers probably, but it's just this, I don't want things because it's a holiday and you're supposed to buy me something.
Yeah.
But I understand
Exactly.
there are some people who it can be a lonely feeling kind of time because, if you're on social media, you're seeing everybody and all the lovely, happy faces that you think everything's perfect, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it can be a triggering holiday
It
for sure.
can, it
Yeah.
can. Well, I'm going to ask you one really last important question. What is
Okay.
the best idea you want to leave us with today? Or like the most important, or just whatever it comes out right now that you think we need to hear? Maybe
Yeah.
again.
Um, Finding the balance between holding space for someone to let them show up authentically and, create time and space to really see who they are. We can get triggered on that first red flag that shows up versus being so connected into who you are and what you want that you know when to let it go. And it
Mhm.
might be within the first 15 minutes of a date, or it might
Yeah,
be a year later, but working on that balance. And it's ultimately the more you're in tune with yourself, the more you know.
yeah. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us in these articles. And I believe we've also done an interview on well, I don't know when I started these. I think I started these midway, maybe.
It was, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think we did the first one, but we've definitely done at least four of them,
Okay.
maybe more. Yeah.
So put Candy's name into the search on my on the On Purpose Woman Global Community YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're there right now. Put Candy in the search and you can find some other um, interviews that we did on this same topic. So thanks again, Candy.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
you.
much. Always have so much fun here. Thank
I
you.
do too. And thank you for watching the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. And for more information on the On Purpose Woman Global Community and Magazine, please click on the links in this video and be sure to check out Candy's website for all that she's offering. And check out I'll put that link in after we finish up here, candyleigh.com/hello. That will
Mhm.
give you her Instagram and other social media places. Check out her Instagram in the next 24 hours, or let's say 24 to 36 hours,
Yeah.
and check out that Zoom offering that she's doing on Valentine's Day. It might
Yes.
resonate with some of you. Thanks a
Yes.
lot, Candy.
Thank you so much.